hey everybody, Dan Drake here. This is Why It's Great Live, and I'm a little nervous, to be honest. You know, you just gotta sometimes do things that scare you. But here I am, and I'm hands-free in the car. I don't love the shakiness, but you know, sometimes you just gotta to go for something and do it. And but yeah, here I am. Why It's Great Live. And so this is something I want to do 2 days a week to start out, as a way to just get more content out there. And you know, the video essays are a lot of fun, but they take a lot of editing, and they take a lot of time. And so I wanted to just be able to do this as a way to get videos out there, you know, a lot more often. And so right now I'm doing this from my personal Facebook page. I'm going to do that the first few, but I want to eventually take them from the Why It's Great Facebook page. So if you're not if you're not following that, if you haven't liked it, if that's not in your Facebook feed, go over to the Why It's Great Facebook page and follow that and like it, and that would be really helpful to do that. I also am going to repurpose these videos on YouTube later, and hey Christy, and I'm going to put them on YouTube. So another way you could watch is later by subscribing to the YouTube channel, and that would also be a huge help. But what I want to do is, each time I do one of these, highlight why something is great, something that, you know, I may not do a full video essay on. And right now, I'm actually driving back home from going to therapy. And so if I'm, you know, just going to be a little raw and real, I wanted to highlight why going to counseling is great. And specifically, I did something today we've been doing the past couple times I've gone, which is the EMDR. I always get tripped up. I almost want to call it EDM. It's not electronic dance music. No, it's EMDR, which has something to do with eye movement. But basically, it's a practice where I'm able to hold these tappers, basically two, like, you know, things that vibrate in my hand, and they go back and forth, left to right. And when they're doing that, it's supposed to help you connect your left brain and your right brain. And what we do is we identify a memory that at first you work with one that causes you a little bit of distress, but not a whole lot of distress. You know, you don't want to think of a memory that makes you feel awful and break down, but you want to think of one that is a little bit uncomfortable to think about. And then what you do is you kind of try to inject like a positive, you know, bit of computer code into your brain that can kind of rewire that memory. And instead of you feeling ashamed or afraid or anxious, you feel comforted, you feel safe, you feel whole and worthy. And so, again, just kind of, you know, being a little bit honest and raw, as silly as this sounds, I thought of a memory, and I pictured Dr. Green from ER. And that's one of my favorite shows of all time. I've seen it through 3 times. Every time, spoiler alert for a 15-year-old show, every time Dr. Green dies, I just bawl my eyes out. And he just exudes this like comfort and care for patients. And so I was thinking of a, you know, semi-traumatic memory that made me feel full of shame and wrong, like I was bad. And all of a sudden, my counselor had me picture Dr. Green standing there next to me, and I pictured him kneeling down beside me and just kind of looking at me. And all of a sudden, the whole scenario just kind of melted away, and it was just the two of us. And he just looked at me and he said, "You're okay. You're worthy. You're loved. You're enough." And my counselor explained that Dr. Green in that moment was a proxy for myself. And it was a way to be able to tell myself those things that I know are true, but actually have them connect, and for me to receive it from someone that makes me feel comforted. And so, I mean, I'm kind of still reeling from what just happened, but when I was done, I was able to I'm able now to draw up that memory, and I don't feel distressed. I just feel comforted. I still now picture Dr. Green there in that memory. It's like he was really there. I told my counselor that, like, I kind of felt excited, like I really met him in real life. Like, I drove to Chicago, I went into County General, sat down with Dr. Green, and I've just got a smile on my face. And so, since that just happened, I wanted to talk about that for the Why It's Great. And we did an episode of the Better Questions podcast. For those of you who know that I do a podcast with some buddies called the Better Questions podcast, and we had Andy Kolber on to talk about mental health. And so if you want to learn more about EMDR or about counseling in general, I'll put some links in the description, just information about that. But I also will put a link to that episode of the Better Questions podcast. Because that's probably that might be our best episode. It's certainly our most popular, and I think it's the most helpful and practical. So you'll want to check that out. The other thing I want to do in these Why It's Great live episodes is I want to highlight every week a book of the week and an album of the week. I'm a huge book lover, and I love music, and so I want to do that now. I'm doing these Monday and Wednesday, and Monday I didn't do one because I wanted to do a song just in light of the shootings that happened over the weekend. And so if you want to look back and find that, it's on the YouTube channel. You can probably also find it on the Why It's Great Facebook page. But I sang the song Imagine. So because of that, I did not do a book of the week or an album of the week. And so I want to do both right now. I'm going to do a book of the week, and I'm going to do a album. And so I brought these. I don't just have these things around in the car all the time. I brought these because I knew I was going to do this today. But the album of the week that I want to do is this one right here, Pearl Jam's Werths. And this is their second album that they put out. They put this out after 10. And for those of you who don't know, Pearl Jam is my favorite band of all time. Something hit my car. That was loud. Pearl Jam's my favorite band, and 10 is probably their most popular album. You know, it's the one everybody knows. It's got Even Flow on it. It's got Black. It's got all those, big hits. Alive. And, one could argue that that's probably their best album. I might say it's just their most popular and most well-known. I actually think Werths as an album might be better. At least I like it more. One, there's kind of a musical sheen on the album 10, and none of the other Pearl Jam albums really sound like that. I think the label just was trying to put some sort of like shimmer on everything, not really knowing what the band sounded like live. I think Werths started a trend where you actually hear what I would consider to be the true sound of the band. Not only that, the songs on it are just as good, if not better, than the songs on 10. I think Daughter and Elderly Woman Behind the Counter of a Small Town might be my two favorite Pearl Jam songs, at least of that early era. I do love some of the newer stuff as well. So yeah, if you haven't checked it out, I'm going to put a link to Spotify and Apple Music when I arrive where I'm going, so that y'all can check out Werths. It is amazing. If you only listen to one song, listen to Elderly Woman Behind the Counter of a Small Town. It's one of my favorites. Try to listen for the emotion in Eddie Vedder's voice as he's singing, specifically in the second verse when he hits the octave. He starts out singing low with that typical voice that Eddie Vedder gets made fun of for, but then he jumps the octave and you get to really hear Eddie Vedder's what I consider his true voice, and why he's so much better than like Scott Stapp from Creed and the guy from Nickelback. So listen to that song. It's one of my favorites. The book of the week is this one right here. It's Michael Hyatt's Free to Focus. And, I was doing a modern worship leader thing for a while. And so I made a video on that book for that. And I wanted this to be the first book of the week because I actually took that down off the modern worship leader thing, and I want to repurpose it for this. I want to repurpose it for Why It's Great. So I'm going to be re-uploading the video about that book. So I'm not going to talk much about it right now. Go to the YouTube channel, look for Why Michael Hyatt's Free to Focus is Great. That's coming, and So this has been Why It's Great Live, and I hope you've enjoyed spending a little bit of time with me. I hope you'll do that more often, every Monday and Wednesday. Right now, we might do some more in the future if it's easy to do and I enjoy it and it's connecting. But look for me again this weekend. Hopefully, I'll have a Why It's Great video essay up this weekend about the song Yesterday. That's the next one. And we will, if I don't see you before then, I'll see you Monday for the next Why It's Great Live. Thanks, everybody.